the Red Hat Enterprise Linux boot process. We have started this one in the previous part, and we have seen till the 6th step where bootloader passes the
Hello, Mr. Taki.
kernel. So this is step 6 we have reached, and on this step, what happened on this step, bootloader will pass the control to kernel, and with any option specified in the kernel command. Any option specified in the kernel command, that means in the grub configuration file we have an options with the kernel. By default we have some options, and if we want, then we can add more options, or we can remove some options also. There is lots of options we have to pass from kernel, like we can assign IP address, we can change firewall setting, we can stop any service, we can do lots of things at the booting time. Like when your system is booting and you are doing this thing, you are passing these commands through the kernel. So it will run the kernel, it will pass the control to the kernel, and with those commands which we have added into that kernel, we can see that in the grub-conf file, and also we can see when we see the when we go for editing the grub at the booting time. So we can see those options with the kernel. This is the file of configuration, grub configuration, which is under /boot/grub2. If I give an absolute path, it will be under boot grub2 and grub.cfg, and in the file, when you select the boot menu entry, this is the menu entry, and when you select this menu entry, it will load these settings, it will decide the boot partition here, and then it will load the kernel files, and you can see the kernel files here. And when it loads the kernel file is under the boot partition. It is deciding the boot partition here and is loading the partition. It is loading this kernel file from there. Boot partition, it is actually first hard disk. Here in my machine, first hard disk, first partition. If you have another hard disk and you have installed it into the second hard disk, then it will be HD1. So this is what, it's a boot partition, and in that boot we have this kernel file. So it loads the kernel, the bootloader will load the kernel, that means this is the bootloader file, main configuration file, and it will load this kernel file and pass the control to this kernel. And with these options, that means these options are the default options, but we can add some more option, or we can remove these options also. And also it will load this initial RAM-FS. Now from here, job of kernel will start. Now from here we have kernel is loaded, and also we have a initial RAM-FS, and that initial RAM-FS we have all the required file systems. Now from here, kernel do what? Kernel will take over from here, and the kernel will do what? The kernel initialize. Kernel do what? It will initializes all hardware. Initialize all the hardware. All the hardwares which it can find a driver in the initial RAM-FS file. So it will initialize all the hardware for which it can find drivers in init RAM-FS. So that is why we need this init RAM-FS file. So it is having a file system, its own file system, and in that file system it contains all the required drivers, the basic drivers whatever we need. So it will be loaded by the kernel. It will be loaded by the kernel. So whatever we need it will load, and then what, it will execute. Then kernel will execute what? It will execute the first process. Now the first process here, now here from here our RHEL 7 is different from the previous versions of Red Hat, previous versions of RHEL. So previous versions of RHEL uses sysinit. It uses sysinit process, sysinit service for initializing the system. But now RHEL 7, from RHEL 7, RHEL uses systemd. So if you see previous version, like if you go for the RHEL 6, 5, 4, 3 or whatever, and when you check what is the first process it executes, then you will see init. You will see init process. But now on, it says what? It runs actually systemd process. It runs systemd with PID 1, because this is the first process we have. So it executes this systemd process, and it executes the systemd process with PID 1, and this is the first process we have. And in previous versions you will see the first process is init. In the Linux system, in RHEL 7, if you check, for example, if you run ps command, let me show you that. So if I run command ps-ef and I want to see the first process, so I'll say I want to see head. So I can see that the first process which has a PID 1 is what? Systemd, and it is executed by 0. Parent process ID is 0, and that is what? Kernel. So kernel executed this systemd process with PID 1. Now in RHEL 6, RHEL 5, when you run this command, you will see PID 1 and you will see init here. Now init and systemd works totally different, and that is why now from Red Hat RHEL 6 or previous versions of RHEL 7 is different. It is using this systemd style. Now why it is using systemd? So why it is using systemd? Because systemd is faster than init. Init was slower than this. It was dependency, it was mostly it was not booting the system fast. Now systemd can boot the system very fast, faster than init. How? Init do what? Init executed the after this, now the systemd, this process will handle the initialization. So when it was init, so init do what? Init executes those different processes and services according to the sequence. It goes by the sequence. That means it goes by the sequence to execute all these services and initialize the system. But systemd what? It will not go according to the sequence. It will go according to the dependencies. That means in init system what happen? If suppose you have a dependency, you have to run the sequence is like you have to run first service, then you will run second service, then you will run third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9. So init will go like this. But if suppose this 7th service is only need to run the second service, like suppose this 7th service having a dependency of service 2, that means if service 2 is executed, then we can easily execute this 7th. We don't have to wait for 3, 4, 5, 6 execute, and then I will execute 7. So because this 7 is having the dependency and the dependency is fulfilled, these are not like they are depending on each other directly. Like number 2 is not depending on number 1, number 3 is depending on number 2. So it is like that. But maybe sometime what happen, some services, some process are not depending on the particular line. Suppose this seventh one is only depending on 2. If you executed the 2, then you can execute number 7 also. But init will not do that. Init will go by the sequence. But system D can do what? It will execute this 7 just only after the 2. That means when it is executing 1, 2 is depending on 1, so 1 will execute after 2. 3 is depending on 2, so it will execute after 2. 4 is executing because it needs 3 to be executed. 5 needs 4 first, so it execute after 4. 6 needs after 5, so it will execute after 5. But maybe 7 need only 2. That means only 2 will need to be executed for running the 7th one. So system D will do what? After just 2, it will execute that 7 also. So system D will not go by the sequence, it will go by the dependency. If some process or service dependencies are fulfilled, then it will execute those processes. So simultaneously it can execute multiple processes and services, and that is how it can boot the system quickly. So now Red Hat did what? It transferred the control, it transferred this system to system D. So now initialization of the system is done by this system D service. Previously it was done by init. Now because of this, lots of things are changes, like how you can manage the services, how you can manage the booting, how you can manage the other things. So these lots of things have changed now. Now this first process is executed now. Now what this first process will do? This system D. Now we are not in init system, we are in this system D system. So init system, but previously when it was init system, so it do what? When the init comes, it will look for this directory. It will look for the directory So when it was init system, it looks for this directory, init.d directory. It looks for this directory for services to execute, that whatever services it needs to be executed are there. The files of that services are stored in this directory. And for configuration, it looks for this file. Now in the directory, now what we have here, because now it is not init, but still we have some services file here. If you see, the network service is still there. Nowadays, now in RHEL 7, for managing the network, we have network manager service. This network service is available in previous versions in init systems, but it is still available here because suddenly they have changed from RHEL 6 to 7. Suddenly they have changed from init to system D. They have changed the whole core system. So what the administrators who's very used to work with this init, they are not able to cope with it. So they did what they for those kinds of administrators, they have still keep these files here. But now we don't use it. We should not use this one also. We should use only network manager. And it looks for this file also, init tab. So previously it looks for init tab. Right now, if you see this file, if you see this init tab file, it will say that init tab is no longer used when using system D. So now it is no longer used. It was used in the init system, and adding configuration here will have no effect on your system. So previously we used to add some configurations here, but now it is no, we don't have to configure here anything. If we did, nothing will work. Now what we configure here basically, in here in this file in init system we configure the run levels. Basically we decide the run level here in this file. So first when the init starts, the init process starts, first it looks for the init tab file, this file, and in this file it looks for the run level. Now based on the run level it will start the services and process. Now what is run levels? Run levels are to decide like what level your system should run. Either your system could run on graphical or non-graphical, but this is not available now. These run levels are not used because in systemd we don't have any run levels. This systemd uses targets instead of run level. It is saying here that systemd uses targets instead of run levels, and by default there are two main targets here. So instead of run levels it is using targets. Targets are like this. You can see the file name is this multi-user and dot target. File name is graphical and the name is dot target. So basically systemd uses targets. So init system uses run levels. It defines the run levels. Run levels was from 0 to 6. There was run levels from 0 to 6. Right now we don't have any run levels. It was 0 to 6, like you can see here, run level 3 and run level 5. So that was the different run levels, and you saw these run levels here. If you go here in this file in RHEL6, so you will see these run levels. For example, I will say run level 2. Let me start with run level 0. Run level 0, and run level 0 was shut down. Basically this run level means shut down. Now we don't have run level 0, but run level 0 was shut down in RHEL or previous versions of RHEL, previous than RHEL 7. So when your system is on run level 0, then what happened? Your system will shut down. Shut down means in this file it is decided that what will be the default run level. So your system, when the system starts, when the init comes, init checks this file and it checks what is the default run level. And if your system is set to run level 0 as a default, then what happened? Your system will shut down. So this run level 0 is for shutting down your system. Then the second run level was run level 1, and this run level 1 was for single user. So when your system is in run level 1, that means your system is in single user mode. Now single user mode is a command line mode where only single user can log in, and that user is root. And interestingly, that user can log in without password. So in previous system, when you go to the single user mode, you don't need a password for root also, and only root will log in. Only root will log in and without a password. Now what in this mode? This mode is basically for troubleshooting. Troubleshooting because in this level 1, most of the services are not running. You can assume this run level as a safe mode in Windows system. We know that in Windows system we have a safe mode. So when we go to the safe mode, we can do some troubleshooting because all the services are not running on that safe mode. So same as this single user mode is here in RHEL. This is what it was here, and this one is it is like in here we don't have any other like most of the services are not running. Only the basic services are running. No graphical and no multi-user. Only single user can log in. Then the run level 2. Run level 2 was there, and it was for multi-user. It was multi-user it was multi-user command line interface, it was multi-user CLI interface, and without networking options. Without networking. Without networking, that means most of the networking things will not work here in run level 2, and it is always be in command line mode, never no graphical available here. Then we have this run level 3. Then run level 3 was again multi-user and CLI, but it is a full multi-user. Full multi-user, that means you can have all the options, networking, everything you have. So this was run level 5, run level 3. Then after that, the run level 4 is unused. It was unused. Unused, that means it was never used basically. It was available for the developer or some kind of programmer so that they can use that run level, but basically it was not used. Run level 4, no use. Directly run level 5. Run level 5 is about full graphical. So it was full graphical interface. So full GUI, or we can say full graphical interface, in short GUI interface. That means you will get all the user, you can log in multiple users, you will get all the services, and also you will get the graphical interface. So whenever your system starts and it checks this file, and if the run level is set to 5, then it will go for graphical. And if the run level is set to 3, then it will go for command line. And if in case it is 2, still it is a command line without networking for some troubleshooting. And run level 1 is also for some troubleshooting without any services. And 0 means directly shutting down the system. There is one more run level, and there was run level 6. Now that run level 6 was restart, reboot. So that means when your system is on run level 6 as a default, then it will always do reboot, and it can stuck into the loop. Whenever you start your system, when the init file comes, this init tab will be readed, and in the init tab, if it is set run level 6, then it will reboot again, and then again reboot, again check run level, again reboot, again check run level, again reboot. So now what, in system D we don't have any kind of things, we don't have any kind of run levels here, but still because of we are very used to this, because the administrators are very much used to, so they have still left some options there as a run level, but they are not run level. That means we have still some options, like if we want to check the run level, it is no run levels are available here in this system D, but still if I want to check what is the current run level, I can check. This command is working and it is showing me the run level. It is showing me that previously no run level was available, and right now it is run level 5, because I have started the system in graphical. So directly it is showing it is run level 5, and previously there was no run level. So this run level is still showing, it is the command is still working, but it is not available now. It is removed, it is not available, because system D works differently. It does not have any run levels. And also we can change the run level. Also we can change the run level, like we can we used to change in previous versions of RHEL. Like if you want to change the run levels, then you can change by init command. Init, if I say init 0, that means I want to say initialize into run level 0, and when it is initialized into run level 0, then what it do, it will shut down. It will shut down. If I say initialize into run level 6, then what it will do, it will initialize into run level 6, and that means it will do reboot. So the command will still work. These commands are still working, because as I said, they suddenly changed this, and suddenly from init to it came to system D, and the whole system is changed. But the administrators who is working for last 10 years in this on this previous versions of RHEL, they are very used to work with this init command. They are very used to this command, like they very frequently they use this. So they have not removed it. They have made some aliases for this, and still it is working. This command is still working. So as I said, it's still working. If I want to go to run level 1 here, now there is no run level 1 here, but if still I want to go to run level 1, I said I want to go to run level 1, init to 1, then what it do? If you saw the message, it says it is no longer available, but still it is going somewhere. So it is basically going into maintenance. See here, it is saying give root password for maintenance. Now where we are right now? Now where are we and which run level we are right now? So actually we are in emergency mode. If you can see here, it says welcome to emergency mode. So after logging in, type this to check the error information, and systemctl reboot, we can do the reboot, and systemctl default or D to boot into default mode. So basically this is emergency mode. This is emergency mode. It is like, we can say it is like a single user mode. We can say it is like a Windows safe mode. So this one is available and it is actually working here. So when we go and we run init1 command, so it took us to this emergency mode. Now we can assume it like a single user run level 1. But in run level 1 in previous versions, we don't have to pass the password. But here you have to give the password for root to work with it. Otherwise you can't enter into this mode. So I will give root password and I will get the terminal. And when I check what is the run level here, so it says here that previously it was run level 5, right now it is run level 1. So it is just making me fool to assume there is run levels, but there is no run levels. So basically it is now in emergency mode with the help of emergency.target. So it is running this because of emergency.target file. So it is a target, it is not a run level here. So if now I will change it to init2. Now you see what happens when I go to init2. It says error here, and now it is asking me the password. Now it is not a emergency mode, it is a normal command line mode. And when I check run level, now it is saying that previously you were in run level 1, right now you are in run level 3. So there is no run level 2 now, as a run level 2 or 3 was same. So right now I am in run level 3, but basically what I am in multi-user target. I am using this multi-user target as a run level 3. Now if I say I want to go to run level 5, so it will take me back to the graphical one. So this thing is working, but it is just fooling us actually. So there is no such kind of thing here. It is just to make that old administrators easy, so that they will not feel like it has changes something. So now when I check run level, so it is showing this. Previously I was in 3 and right now I am in run level 5. So basically it is not having any run levels. So basically it is not having run levels, it is having only these two targets. Multi-user dot target is for as a run level 3. That means it is for multi-user CLI, where you can do everything, but it is in command line mode. All the users are multi-user, that means all the users can log in. You will get all the different terminals from F1 to F7, and then you will get all the networking services and all the services. That is what multi-user dot target. And the graphical dot target means it is your run level 5. As a run level 5, that means full GUI. Right now we are in graphical dot target. And if you go to run level 2 and 4 was very useless. Run level 1 was very useful. It is what just like for troubleshooting. So for this they have kept it, and it is now what run level 1 is now actually emergency dot target. So for run level 1 it is using this emergency dot target here in RHEL 7. So basically it is now emergency dot target. And one more target is there for run level 1. Basically it is rescue dot target also, which we can use manually. So we have rescue dot target, that is also for troubleshooting, and emergency dot target is also for troubleshooting. They are just like a single user mode, single user run level 1, like safe mode in our Windows. So now we don't have these run levels, we have only these targets, which is defining the type of the boot, like whether you want to have multi-user CLI, you want to have multi-user full GUI, or you want to go for safe mode like emergency mode. So this is what it will decide in the system D. Now there is no run level, so everything will be decided by the system D. Now system D instance is executed now. Now system D will do what? It will execute all the units and targets, and it will execute the main file system first. So basically what it will do first, so system D executes all the units for initrd.target. This is the initrd.target file, and it will also include, it will also load at this time, it will also load what? It will also load our main file system. Our main file system under /sysroot. Now /root. Now this /sysroot is actually under RAMFS. Right now our main file system has not come. Our main file system has not come. Now what it will do next is the system D will do what? Now kernel now what it will do next, after loading our main file system under sysroot, now it needs our main file system to be executed under the main our system. Like we need to mount all the partitions and directories, all the partitions on the directories, and we have to mount it so that we can get our file system. Right now till here in this point, all the directories, all the file systems are coming, or those file systems are from initial RAMFS, and now we need our main file system to be loaded. So main file system will be loaded from this directory. So first system D execute this target to load the all units and the main file system under this directory. Then after this it will start loading our main file system into the main system, like it will start mounting all the partitions on the directories which we have. So it will start mounting, that means the root file system, that is our main file system, is now switched. In this stage our root file system will be switched from init ramfs file system file system to our main file system. So in this stage, after this is mounted, our main file system is mounted under the sysroot directory, it will switch our file system from initial, our root file system will be switched from initial ramfs to our main file system. Our main file system, which is previously mounted on this sysroot directory. Now at this stage we have our main file system is loaded, which we can configure by fstab file. Remember, which partition is to be mounted on which directory is all information is stored in the fstab file. So it will actually switch the file system by the help of fstab file. So it is important to have a good fstab file entries, write entries, otherwise in this stage our system will stuck and will not start, and it will go to the grub mode and you will see the error. And we can configure this, like which partition is mounted on which directory, we can configure it in the fstab file. So I can say this is configured in etc fstab file. Now what? Everything is ready. Now system D will look for all the units. It will look for the default.target. So first it will look for the default.target. Now why it will look for default.target? As you remember, I said init system was first look for init tab file. So init system looks for init tab file. Now init tab file, it looks for why? To decide the run level. To decide the run level, init system looks for the init tab file, that which run level our system should start. And based on the run level, if suppose it is if it is run level 1 single user, then it will not start other services, it will not start everything, it will start only the required minimum services. If it is set to run level 3, then it will not start graphical thing, it will start only the services which is required for that run level. So first it has to check that which run level is to execute. Now here in system D, it will look for what? So here system D will look for a default.target. Now for default.target, now it could be from the configured in the kernel. Like if you remember, when our system boots, so we can pass some commands from kernel. So we can either configure this by either we can pass this through kernel command or by the normal configuration of our system D. So it will just look for this default.target first to decide how, to decide like in which mode our system will start. Now, so it will look for system D, look for the default.target. To decide in which mode our system will boot. Our system will boot either in CLI, which is actually multi-user, or GUI, which is graphical. So it looks for this. Now where you will see this, for that you should understand first how this system D works. So basically system D works, let me show you this. So basically system D is having actually units. All the configurations of system D is actually called units. Units, that means targets and services. Targets and services. Now when I said target, that means .target files, and services, that means .services file. All these things are called units. These all units decides the things like .targets are the configurations and .services are the services file. So everything will be handled by the system D. This is so among that units, there is a unit called default.target. So when the system D looks for the default.target, it will look where? So it will look under this directory, etc system D system directory, and here it will find this default.target file. Here it finds the default.target file. Now it is difficult to see, so let me change the background so that we can see. Edit, profile preference, color, I will change it to white on black. Okay, now we can see it easily. So this is what default.target. It is looking for the default.target under this directory. So what it do here, system D look for the default.target, and it will look for it under etc/system D system. Directory. So it will look under the directory to find the default.target file. Now default.target decides that whether your system is going to start in CLI, that is multi-user, or GUI. So if you see what is the configuration under this default.target, then you will understand that what is it going to be start. So if I check what is inside this file, let's say I will check VAM etc system D system and default.target. So what we have here, it says that this is the unit. It is a unit, so because it is system D unit. What is the description here? It is saying it is a graphical interface. That means our system is going to start as a graphical. So documentation, it is saying that you can look for this man page for the documentation. Now what it is saying, it is requires these unit files are very simple, and it's just simple script, we can say. So what it is, we can see it is very simple script. It is saying that requires these files to be run first. This is the dependency for this target, default.target, and this is the dependency. What is the dependency is multi-user. That means it needs first this multi-user.target to be executed, and then only this default.target can execute. And it wants also this services to run. And what is this? This is service unit, display manager dot service, and it will conflict with rescue.service or rescue.target. That means if our system initiates the rescue.target, then this target will not execute, and after only it execute, after only these targets will be executed or services will be executed. This will allow, this is allowing the isolation. That is saying yes, that means we can isolate it from one target to other target. Now why it is saying graphical? Is it a default or graphical? It is actually graphical.target. It is actually graphical.target. It is not a default.target. Why I am saying this? If you see here, if you see the color of this file, it is not a normal file. It is a link file. So basically it is actually a link file. It is not a normal file. So if I see which file link it is, so when I say etc system D system default.target, let's long list it to see which file link it is. So it is saying here that this is the link file, but it is actually the link of this file. So the original file name is graphical.target. So basically it is graphical.target. It is only a soft link, and the soft link name is default.target. Because our system D look for this directory etc, it will not look for any other directory, and in that directory whatever the file name, whatever file name is default.target, it will execute it. So either it is multi-user.target or graphical.target. So right now it is graphical.target. Multi-user.target means command line, graphical.target means graphical. So it is graphical.target, so it will execute the graphical.target, and it will execute graphical.target. That means our system will boot into graphical mode. So based on this default.target, either it could be multi-user.target or it could be graphical.target. That means it could be the link of multi-user target or it could be the link of graphical user.target. So whatever it is, it will decide that, and then what it will do, according to that, now according to default.target, according to default.target, system D will start running all the units. All the units, when I said all the units, that means services, or we can say dot targets and dot services. So all the target files and dot services files. to initialize the system. And after all this, user will be presented with the login screen. So the user will be presented by the login screen, and now user can decide, user can give username and password, and user can now log in. And your system is ready. So this is how the boot process works, and this is how it executed. So this is our RHEL boot process. So these are the all steps we have for running the system and making it work. One more thing. So after running the default.target, it will, based on the default.target, it will start running those different target. Like if you want to run the default.target, what dependency it has, it will start running those dependencies, and it will start running those dependencies and all the files from this directory, all the target and services from this directory. That means all the required dependencies for this default.target is basically available in this directory. But these all are links. They are not actual files. So where is the actual files? So if you look for the real file, it is under this directory, libsystemd system. So basically the original files are under this directory. So if you check lib systemd system directory, you will see all the targets and services file. So these are all the targets and services file, it is here. But only the target and services which should be run, they are under this directory as a link. All the files which need to be run is under this etc directory as a link. Whatever it is need to be run, and but all the others are under this main directory, so that we can manage that which service you want to run and which service you don't want to run. Otherwise it will by default run everything. So this is how the systemd works. So based on the default.target, it will start running the all dependency files, and then your system is booted. So this is our boot process, and this is how it starts for Linux RHEL 7.